Hunt 'em Big with Steve Bartylla. Brought to you by Wildlife Research Center, the gold standard. Reconics, see what you've been missing. Get armed and deadly with Easton's FMJ arrows. By Hunter Safety Systems, saving lives is what we do. Sever broadheads, straight through it. By Primal Tree Stands, stand safely, hunt smart. By Chestnut Hill Outdoors. And by Shop Outright Hunting Products, home of the Morph Pro Bowhanger.
History repeats itself, and those that do not learn from history are generally doomed to repeat its mistakes. That applies to deer hunting every bit as much as it does to the real world. In that there are certain things that Mr. Big wants and needs. Habitat generally doesn't change that much. Sure, there may be some logging on public ground. Crops may change on farm ground. A new group of hunters may move in and shift things around. But generally speaking, the topography doesn't change. Unless you go ahead and cut down a bunch of trees, you know what? There's going to be woods back behind me here 20, 30 years from now. Every bit as much as there is today. Because of bucks specifically wanting and needing certain things, your more mature dominant bucks, they tend to select the best of the best. Okay? And they tend to have the other deer waiting in line to take their place. That's where spring scouting really comes in handy. Now, you get to, as a matter of fact, any time from postseason on through spring greenup. Now, you get out there, you find those rubs. They stick out like a turd in a punch bowl right now because all of this green vegetation's gone. We're talking winter and before spring greenup. So those rubs, they stand out more during that phase than any other. Same with the scrapes. When you're out there looking for scrapes, try to find those great big ones preferably with a bowl-shaped appearance. Either the size or the bowl, either one of them tells you that, this scrape's been worked time and time and time again. Scrapes are, they're the whitetail world's equivalent of human billboards. They're meant to advertise to a whole bunch of other deer. Therefore, the best locations for billboards tend to be the same every year, same with scrapes. And they stand out really, really well after leaf off. As long as that licking branch is still in place, odds are pretty darn good that scrape that's like this with that bowl-shaped appearance is going to look like that again the next coming year. If that licking branch is gone, you know what? You can go ahead and attach one. The more we can piece this stuff together, the more we find that these patterns, they repeat themselves year after year after year. And how do we get on top of them? Me personally, I get on top of them from spring scouting. And when I'm out there in the spring and I'm looking for rubs, trails, scrapes, bedding areas, you know what? I'm always asking why. Why are the bucks scraping so hard right here? Why is there a string of rubs going down that point? You find that bed, when you find it during the off-season, squat down in it and look around. Look around and ask yourself why. Why out of every place on this entire ground that buck could lay is he laying in this one spot? The more you do that, the more you anticipate what the animals are going to do year after year after year, even after they're gone, the ones that are leaving the sign, because deer have specific wants and needs. Habitat doesn't change that much from year to year. Therefore, if that knob was the best place to bed yet last year, you know what? It's probably the best place to bed again this year. Spring scouting, off-season scouting, anytime from when season close on through spring greenup, really is unbelievably huge for me to set the scale for success for the next year.
Hunt 'em Big with Steve Bartylla. Brought to you by Wildlife Research Center, the gold standard. Reconics, see what you've been missing. Get armed and deadly with Easton's FMJ arrows. By Hunter Safety Systems, saving lives is what we do. Sever broadheads, straight through it. By Primal Tree Stands, stand safely, hunt smart. By Chestnut Hill Outdoors. And by Shop Outright Hunting Products, home of the Morph Pro Bowhanger.
Whitetails tend to repeat the same patterns over and over and over again. At the same time, once season closes on through spring greenup, that's when deer sign sticks out by far the most, because all that vegetation's gone. You get out there during the off season, you find those scrapes, those rubs, those trails, those bedding areas, ask why they're occurring here, and you know what? Odds are pretty good you can set up for that fall success.